It's Thursday night, boys, so you know what that means. The We Talking About Sports boys are back to talk some NBA playoffs, UFC 301, and major boxing pay-per-view this Saturday for some. Roland, what's up, my man?
I'm here chilling. Like you said, it's Thursday night. It's Friday Eve. I'm chilling off that
Friday
ashwagandha.
Eve
I'm doing good here on my
on that
side. Can't
Ryan Garcia
complain.
juice.
Ready to talk some NBA basketball, some UFC 301 light card, but all is good over here.
Ben, what about you? You ready for this NBA and UFC talk?
Yeah, I'm ready for this weekend, bro. I mean, it's Thursday. Shit, tomorrow's Friday. Half work day every Friday usually, and get
What does
into the
that mean, Ben?
weekend.
You're hitting the links Friday? Because that's usually what you do,
No,
right?
actually, the tea time's booked for Sunday at 3 p.m. But Saturday we're doing brunch, some mini golf, and then the fights at night. So I'm looking forward to the weekend.
Well, now that you mentioned mini golf, we just want to say a quick happy birthday to Gabby. It was her birthday. Was it 36, Ben? Sure, 36?
Hey,
36.
don't age
Not
her.
too much
Nah,
on
not
that, but
aging.
yeah,
Not
not
aging.
too
We're
much
just
on that.
we're recognizing happy birthday to the G. So that's what's up.
Happy birthday.
Let's get into it here. I know that's why Ben was going to that mini golf. I remember him talking about that. So let's get into the NBA. We do have another team punching their ticket to the next round last night. The Miami Heat the Boston Celtics took down the Miami Heat 4-1. The series ended. Boys, Miami was able to get one. It was just too much to overcome without Jimmy buckets. Ben, I want you to intro on this one. What'd you make of that series?
Yeah, really undermanned. I mean, we knew the Celtics were the better team. They did slip up that one game and kind of showed that they still have a chink in their armor. This should have been a sweep. I think that was probably favorited in the series odds. The Heat and Heat culture do get one game. They come out with the gentleman's sweep, semi respectable, but they were just outmanned for the Celtics. I think we still got to wait on that Porzingis news. He didn't play, did he?
Nope,
No.
he's out.
Okay, I was gonna say I didn't watch hoops yesterday, but yeah, so just gotta wait on that. But they get the winner of this Cavs and Magic series that seems to be last team to play at home is gonna win, is what the series pretty much has said. So should be another, I think, 5-6 game series for the Celtics, unless something changes with Porzingis. But we'll cross that bridge when that happens.
Roland, what about you? What'd you make of that series? Was it just too much to overcome for the Heat?
Yeah, and I mean the Celtics, we all know the story with them. I mean, they've been coasting since March, really. They've had the Eastern Conference in tow for some time. They've been waiting to get here. This first round was pretty much a formality. Like Ben said, they were going up against an undermanned Miami Heat. Miami Heat, the only victory they were able to pull off was kind of one of those flash in the pan victories. They hit or set the all-time franchise record for three-pointers made in a playoff game. So that's what it took to get the one victory. Ben alluded to it with the KP Kristaps Porzingis injury. No word yet. They're kind of playing it coy, but kind of the news that I was hearing this morning is that the injury is almost the exact same thing that Giannis is going through right now. And Giannis's time frame was in the 2 to 3 weeks, and he's just missed an elimination game or two elimination games, games 5 and 6, and they just went out tonight. So the Pacers actually just punched their ticket tonight also. So yeah, a little bit to be concerned about if you're the Celtics, is I think KP is one of those ultimate chess pieces for them. Something that nobody else in the East really has. That size, the ability to stretch the floor. A big upgrade over Al Horford, in my opinion. So now they insert Al Horford back into the lineup. Maybe see guys like Hauser step up with some time. But hey, this is what the playoffs is about. You don't always get to play with your top guys, right? That's why the deepest teams survive, and the teams that make adjustments are the ones that move on. And the Celtics, to their credit, are absolutely loaded, and they should be able to survive this KP injury for now until maybe they get to the finals or the conference finals.
Do you all think that a guy like Hauser plays in the finals? I mean, I know he's playing right now. I didn't think that he would be a playoff guy for them, during the regular season. But is he a guy you think that cemented himself kind of because Peyton Pritchard, we saw him get some DNPs, when they made it to the finals as well. So I'm saying he's kind of like that Duncan Robinson to me. Sometimes you don't play him, sometimes you play him, but Do you think he plays if they reach the finals?
Yeah, I think it'll be matchup dependent. Depends how he does with this extra time that he'll probably get with Kristaps Porzingis being out, and see how he does as they progress towards the finals. But to your point, Ben, guys like that, they can play one game and then they're asked to come in the next game and play 12 to 15 minutes and take a couple shots. And with him, he can stretch the floor. He's another option. The
3-point shooter.
three, so he might be a player to keep an eye on. Here down the stretch.
I mean, he got the 7th most minutes yesterday for the Celtics. If you take away Hauser, the next guy with the most minutes was Cornette. I think you're probably going to give Hauser more minutes than you're giving Cornette.
Yeah, they need. That's why I'm saying, like, without Porzingis, let's say they go up, in the
They
finals
need him.
Against the Timberwolves or the Nuggets. I mean, you're gonna need a
facts.
big. You're not gonna be able to throw Hauser, Cornette out there for minutes, bro.
Cornette's only 6'7", so he can't even play anybody bigger than that.
And that's what it's about for the Celtics. It's about the Eastern Conference Finals and the NBA Finals, because it's a team that's been knocking on the door. They got there. I don't think they got there last year. They got upset in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then before that, they lost to the Warriors 4-2. So this is a Celtics team. They have a lot of pressure, but again, like we were talking about with this first round, pretty much a formality for them. Sucks that this injury happened. Let's see if we get some more news. Maybe it's more positive than what I just alluded to with that Giannis injury. Because if it is on that Giannis injury, his timeline might look like Eastern Conference Finals or the finals. So who knows?
I do got a question for both y'all. I'm gonna let Roland go first here. With what we're seeing, this surgence of Derek White, and a healthy Kristaps, does the Celtics have a true big four?
Yeah, I mean, I think. Well, I mean, I think they have a solid core. Like, I don't know if you can go and call them a big three, right, or a big four, because those names that they usually come attached with superstars or stars, and you have two solidified guys in Tatum and Brown. Porzingis kind of been around there this whole year, but the guy that you just brought up right now, Derek White, he is playing out of his mind right now.
Well, Derek White is different.
He's taking that next step in his career, solidifying himself as a true six man, like a guy that is going to be able to come up and carry the load for them, and not carry the load, but help carry the load with Tatum and Brown. So I think if you get a guy like Derek White playing the way that he's playing right now, that is a nice little card to have in the back of your pocket, because you're going to need him down the stretch to be hitting shots. Because in the finals a couple of years ago, he kind of got played out of that series because the Warriors were leaving him alone. He wasn't really hitting his shots, and that's because he was kind of ascending in that playoff run that they had up until that point. So it's good to see him, catching his fire. I think he had 38 points a game or two ago. So shout out Derek White, former San Antonio Spurs in the playoffs by virtue of Derek White. I'll take it.
Ben, what about you? What says you? He had 25 points last night. Is that a big four? Is that really a big two with a core? What are we thinking?
Roland said it's a good card to have in your pocket. I'll make the cards analogy in spades. I mean, in spades, he's a possible, bro. It's not one that you're guaranteeing a win on. It's a queen of diamonds. You might be able to skate through with a queen of diamonds if you're not getting cut. So definitely not going to say big four. Roland alluded to him being the guy that the Warriors left open. It was like, hey, we're willing to die on the Derek White hill. You know what? If he beats us, fuck it, we'll lose the finals. And he just wasn't that guy. Mm-hmm. And he got down on himself. Now, maybe that was a big learning experience, and he comes back from that. He's shown that, but I'm definitely not calling him a big four. No, he's a possible.
And you got to see it to believe it with him also in the finals, right? He's been there. He's shown us that he's doing it at this level. He has performed well for the Spurs in the playoffs, even though it didn't lead to much success. But he has performed well. It's just, hey, the lights are a lot brighter in the NBA finals.
Agree. All right. Well, Roland talked about it a little earlier with tonight's ticket being punched by the Pacers, the Bucks without Giannis, and they didn't have Dame for 2 games, just a little bit too much to overcome. What do we make of that series, boys, with the Pacers punching their ticket in?
I'm not too impressed with the Pacers. I will give them their credit as far as they did what they had to do to move on. The cards were immediately in their favor when those injuries happened to Dame and Giannis. It was a little shaky at times, including this last game or the first closeout chance that they had. Got to give the Bucks credit for holding home court there and not going down 4-1 and stretching it to a 6-game series. But this proved to me that this Pacers team is still learning how to navigate the playoff game. The game that is played in the playoffs is a lot different than what's played in the regular season. Sound like a broken tape recorder. You hear it all the time. All the talk shows talk about it, but it's true. The Pacers in the regular season run and gun. They were one of the highest scoring, one of the most potent teams offensively all year in the NBA. You get into the playoffs, that slows down a little bit. You got to run your half court sets. You're going up against teams that have some physicality, and hey, they're the team that's waiting for them in the second round. New York, most likely, if they get through Philadelphia tonight, that's probably the most physical team on that side of the bracket. And I don't think the Pacers are ready for that smoke just yet. Pascal Siakam, great acquisition, helped carry them over the hump, because Halliburton, I think he's a guy, especially that's still kind of learning the playoff game. It's his first go around. Not going to, drag on him too much. Let's see what he does in the second round, but not very impressed considering that the cards were immediately in their favor and it was kind of shaky at times.
Ben, what says you? Did the Pacers ever reach that level of right before the play-in games, or not the play-in games, but the in-season tournament where they were turning it up? Did they ever see that kind of skill during this series?
I think that we saw it when they played at home. I mean, even tonight, 120 points on the board. Their home games are very college atmosphere like, big home court advantage, kind of like Orlando, kind of like OKC. Those small market teams that when they play at home, they're going to get really loud for them. So,
Yep.
I like the fact that they run here. Live update, but the Knicks are up 36-24 with 10 minutes left in the second quarter. So if the Knicks win this game and they advance to play them, I mean, I do think that playing the Bucks, albeit without Giannis, I do think it was a good test. I mean, I don't think that it's like, beating the Suns to advance. I think the Bucks are a little more, they have more chemistry. They've been together longer. They have championship pedigree. So I see it as a test, but if they end up matching up against the Knicks, man, that run and gun, the Knicks can really slow the tempo and make you play at their pace.
So on the test part, Ben, what would you give their grade on the test? They obviously passed because they won 4-2.
I'd say a B
so
plus. I'm not going to give them an A, but I'd say a B plus. Halliburton played horribly, and they got it done at home, won all their home games comfortably. So I'd say a B plus. Not ready to say an A or anything, but I mean they're playoff worthy. They didn't come in and the Bucks were still favored. I think going into that series, probably expected Giannis to play. Yeah, it was a toss up series. Yeah, it was a pick'em series. So I think that they passed that test. We saw them get caught up. Game one was it that they came out like deer in the headlights. So got their feet wet, got some playoff. Play in, and some of their guys are stepping up. The Nemhards. Who's the other dude with the cornrows?
Obi Toppin's been playing good.
Obi Toppin had 20 plus tonight. Yeah, like they have everybody kind of chipping in. Halliburton hasn't had to be Superman.
McConnell had 20 tonight. Toppin with 21, Halliburton with 17, Nemhard with 14, Nesmith with 15, and Siakam with 19.
That's what I'm talking about. Nesmith.
Hey. And the Pacers, if it is, I don't want to jinx the Knicks because, I mean, anything can happen, obviously. But if it is a Pacers-Knicks, that's a little throwback, 80s, 90s playoffs there. Yeah, so I like that. I like that.
That's
for sure. Good. The Knicks aren't going to choke it away, though, bro. The Knicks are going to win tonight.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they'll close out. And they got a big lead in the second half, or in the second quarter, like you mentioned. Let's talk a little bit of Orlando and Cleveland. I mean, that's been a dogfight. Where are we at on that series? Is it 3-2, boys? I think it is.
I think 3-2 going back to Orlando tomorrow.
And Orlando is favored 3.5 tomorrow. And I'm going to go to Ben for this little, take and prediction. Do we see a Game 7 here, or is it Cleveland going to close out away at Orlando?
when me and Ron potted on Tuesday, I did say like Orlando has to win this game if they want to win the series because I don't see them winning a game 7 in Cleveland. And they had it. That game was theirs to lose. Paulo went off. Paulo Banchero definitely showing that he's a number one on a team. I know they're a young team, but Franz Wagner needs to just play better, bro. Nobody really helped yesterday. Cavs ended up winning at home. I do think we see a game 7. I don't mind, that -3, 3.5 on the Magic in game 6 at home, but I think for sure we see a game 7.
What about you, Roland? We've
Yeah.
seen game 7 here in this Eastern game.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think one of the first times we touched on this series, I mentioned that I thought home court was going to hold serve here in this series. I don't think any team has shown enough, resolve or enough, that these teams are so evenly matched is kind of what I'm trying to say, that
Yes.
home court is going to hold true here. So I am expecting a game 7. And I think Cleveland will end up taking it away. I don't think outside of Banchero, there's not enough consistent points to count on from the other guys that makes me feel comfortable taking the Magic. So yeah, give me the Cavs to finish out in game 7.
This is like in football we say home field's worth 3 points. They're kind of evenly matched teams. Home field's worth 3 points. Same, you have the Magic here. -3, 3.5 at home. When they go back to Cleveland, it's going to be Cleveland -3, -4. It's just home court's going to prevail, I think, in that series.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's exactly a good analogy for what it is. Let's move over to the West, boys. And there's only one game left in the West, and that's between the Dallas Mavericks, the 5 seed, and the 4 seed Clippers. Ben, I'm going to ask you about the Clippers and Mavs. I know you were high on the Clippers pre-postseason. Tomorrow they're going into Dallas, and they're 7.5 point underdogs going into Dallas. So what do you make of this game? Who's going to win this game tomorrow?
Yeah, thankfully, I know you shouted out Gabby's birthday, but thankfully it was her birthday yesterday, and I didn't have to suffer through watching that game. Phone was blowing up. Definitely people were letting me know that it was what was happening, but, was occupied with celebrating the birthday that didn't get to watch. It didn't look good. I guess that's why you're going into the LA with 7-point favorites for the Mavs. Didn't expect the Mavs to be favored that big, to be honest with you.
Yeah, 7.5 is a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot, and it's obviously clear that Kawhi is not going to play. So it's going to be that same team of James Harden and Paul George, 2 guys that have come up short, both without a ring, guys that a lot of people, are still hitching their wagon to as far as, fans. Those are guys that a lot of people, I think, would like to see win a title. But in that game 6, I mean, you look at the numbers and both of them really bad. 4 for, I think, Paul George was 4
for 13.
Yeah. And Harden was 2 for 14 or
2 for 12.
Yeah, so horrible shooting by both guys. It's going to be tough, bro. They have won 1 game in Dallas already, but I think in the first quarter you'll know who's going to win because the Clippers wins, they've jumped out early. So if we see them, come out early feeling themselves, they might be able to pull it off, but if not, I think you'll know right away.
Roland, can the Clippers afford to keep throwing Russell Westbrook on the floor, man?
I don't think it matters at this point. I think the Clippers are dead in the water. The line, not too surprised, to be honest. I was talking about it, the other day with Ben. Didn't get to pod on Tuesday. Unfortunate I didn't because I know there was a little, Harden love fest going on. But, what's happened has happened. And, to that point, I will say this is clockwork at this point. We all know at this point, Harden is good for a couple of games in the playoffs. And, and then we know what to expect games 5 through 7. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm done with Harden there because we've come to expect it. I'm wearing a watch. It's clockwork. Ben says we're bringing up the past. I say we're bringing up facts. That's just what it is at this point with Harden. Same thing with Paul George, 4 of 13. Ben alluded to it, just a guy that's always kind of fallen short. But that's not even where I'm going right now. Where I'm going, it's Kawhi. James Harden did not come to this team to be the James Harden in Houston. He didn't come to this team to be the James Harden that he was in Philadelphia. Although I think he might have been better served staying in Philly. He chose this team because he saw Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, 2 dogs, 2 guys that he knew that he wasn't going to have to carry the load for.
Yep.
And then lo and behold, Kawhi Leonard goes down. It's a story that we've come to know, just like James Harden
Tell
and
us all this
his,
time.
just like James Harden and closeout games and in these certain situations, we've come to know about Kawhi Leonard. He's not durable anymore. It's unfortunate. I remember a couple years ago, we were talking about, the Clippers and I think the Nuggets when we were potting during the bubble and stuff. And I was over here. I remember I was screaming. Ben mentioned the phrase earlier today, and it brought back one of those core memories. I was screaming, "Hey, this is one of the chinks in his armor, right? If he blows his 3-1 lead to the Nuggets, blah, blah, blah." But at that time, Kawhi Leonard was at the height of his powers, right? That was his first year with the Clippers. He's just coming off that Toronto series where he won MVP, won the finals uh, for the Toronto Raptors. And then fast forward to where we're at today, and his career, in my opinion, has taken a little bit of a turn. And a lot of it is because of injury. It's unfortunate because of everything that happened with the Spurs and, the whole Uncle Dennis situation. But I'm not even like the 7-4-7. Like I said, with James Harden, you come to expect it almost at this point. I will say he was aggressive. It's not for lack of trying. It wasn't that Spurs game 6 where he didn't take a shot until the second half. It wasn't one of those performances. The shots just simply weren't falling. Whereas the game before, talked about it too, the Mavs were forcing James Harden to be a scorer, forcing him to be the number one guy, and he did it, and he beat them. You got to give him credit. But, those shots just don't always fall for him in the playoffs. Hopefully it does. I'm one of those guys. I'm not necessarily hitching my wagon, but I like to see Harden succeed, and that's because I'm a Spurs fan. I like his game. I think he's one of the best facilitators our game has ever seen. Very underrated facilitator from that perspective because everybody just wants to think of him as a scorer. But the fact of the matter is he's one of the best offensive talents that this game has ever seen. And it's unfortunate that he has these shortcomings in the playoffs. But this isn't all on him. And I'm not going to say that it's all on Harden. I had to give him a little bit of, shade because of what happened with that stat line. But it's not on him. Paul George deserves some blame. And yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at with it. But the majority of, where I'm going, my disdain is kind of with Kawhi Leonard. And a lot of it, health is wealth. It's out of his control at some degree, right? So you can't really blame him. But at the same time, we can't just sit here and, trash James Harden because, this, and again, like, it's like, hey, Kawhi Leonard, okay, well, you still have Paul George and all these other talented players. But the fact of the matter is, Kawhi Leonard is the centerpiece of that team. I know we like to joke around and say Harden is a system, but, Kawhi Leonard really is the glue that takes them over the top in this situation, at least, and at this stage of these stars' careers. So unfortunate situation. But like I said in the beginning, it's clockwork.
You know what, Roland? I agree to a certain extent, but I think some of the criticism is warranted because it's not a joke. Like Ben said, he did say when he came over here, he is the system. So he kind of put that on himself. Now, when I look at Harden, I'm going to shoot him some bell here because when you look at his teammates, Russell Westbrook is chunking up the ball 11 times yesterday, only had two that went in. Paul George ever wants to be Robin, never wants to be Batman. I mean, these guys are not helping him at all. So I'm gonna shoot him some bell here. I don't think it's all his fault. 7-4-7 is not the worst stat line. That's probably the stat line he should have had coming in if Kawhi was doing his job, if Paul George was doing his job, and everybody else was doing their part. But the fact of the matter is that no one else is taking it on, and it's him. He's having to be Batman in LA when he didn't sign up for that necessarily. Like you said, he came over to just play and be a part of a culture and be part of a team, a Kawhi-led team. And unfortunately, Kawhi will never be available all the way through. If he plays a lot of seasons games, you're not going to see him in the playoffs. You're just not.
And we saw him in MVP talks this season. So, like, he wasn't load managing. He was out there consistently. He was playing, and the Harden thing, like you said, he kind of didn't sign up. Then you had Paul George, going on podcasts saying, yeah, I told Harden, like, yo, bring us home. Like, I'll get us some stops, but bring us home. And it's like, Paul George, you're the one that's going to go be on Team USA this summer, bro. You're the second option. You're supposed to be a 1A to Kawhi. And you're here telling Harden, like, yo, go take us home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it started Paul George and Kawhi. That was the start. That's the nucleus. You're correct, Ben.
But I think right now a lot of people would still consider Paul George a better player than James Harden overall.
Yeah,
They'd still
I'll give you
consider
that.
him a higher option than James Harden on the team
But
More
well,
consistent
why?
scorer.
Because Harden's a better offensive player. What does George's
because
defense
he's
that much better?
washed, bro. Like you see Eddie here saying he's trash now. Like
Well,
the stigma was that he was washed.
I
That he
mean,
wasn't.
I don't think he's washed, but I do think that you can see like it's not there in the playoffs from game to game. I don't know what it is. I mean, especially in the later series, and you can go back to these, his, back from the end of his Houston career, just the older that he's gotten. I don't know if he can't hold up throughout the duration of the series, but he's just due for one of these games, whether he doesn't have the juice that night or he's off or he's mentally not there in some of those situations where he's not even attempting shots. But this wasn't one of those nights. He just didn't have it tonight. And you just come to expect that you're like, okay, we even said it last year when we got the 40-point game out of him against when he was playing in Philly without Embiid, and you're like, okay, we can expect the next game, Harden's probably going to chill. And the very next game, I think he had like 15 points or something like that coming off the 41. So you just can't consistently expect him to be doing what he was doing in Houston. But that's the point that I was making earlier, is why I'm not as mad at him, is because he didn't sign up to be the Houston James Harden. He can do that every once in a while. You signed up James Harden in this situation, so he can bring that to you every once in a while on the backs of, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. But, the situation's not what it was in the beginning of the year. And they're going up against some dogs that, Jeremy just pointed out, Luka and Kyrie. They're guys that they know how to, attack in the playoffs. Kyrie, he has a ring. He knows how to get it done. He's a winner. Hasn't won everywhere, but he knows how to get it done for the most part. So
I honestly think there's a fire under Kyrie as well, because he wants to get that ring without LeBron, just for him. And you can see the way he's playing.
He's been bashed by everybody. I don't think it's just that. I think it's just everybody said he's too much drama to even have on the team. There's too much baggage, kind of like that T.O. stigma.
Facts.
It's a really good player, but you don't want everything that comes with it.
100%, Ben. 100% that. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Philly coming back down 4 and beat at the line shooting 2. So
anything else, Ben, you want to say on Harden here while we have a chance?
Bounce back Harden tomorrow, baby. Bet the overs.
Okay, bet the overs. Let's talk about some of the betting lines. Now that we had some of the teams eliminated, we're going to shoot some of these updated lines. You can see here, Cleveland is now at plus 4,200. The Clippers at plus 7,500, where they started at was plus 1,700. It seems like Vegas is saying all but eliminated here. The Mavericks up plus 1,300 from plus 1,600. Any of these odds jumping out at you, boys? Of course, we got the shortest odds with the Celtics at plus 115, followed by the Nuggets at plus 270, only a plus 30 bump, even though the gentlemen swept my Lakers. Any odds standing out at you?
I still think, plus 950, plus 850 on either the Wolves or the Thunder is pretty healthy. I know that's pretty much cut, pretty drastically from where it was at before. I think on the pod on Tuesday, Ben shouted out the Knicks. I think that's valid. Those are probably the ones I'm looking at. I mean, personally in pocket, I have OKC and the Timberwolves to win the West, like both at plus 850. And then I'm about to lose a ticket on the Clippers tomorrow because I have them as my other ticket. So I like the Thunder and the Wolves. I think the Wolves match up well against the Nuggets. I don't know if they have the playoff medal to get through and beat a championship team like the Nuggets, but I think on paper they match up pretty well.
Ben, what about you looking at these odds today? What ticket would you be taking if you were looking at these odds?
Yeah, it was the Knicks. The Knicks is who I kind of talked about on Tuesday. I know Ron was on the T-Wolves. He's pretty high on them. The odds are like plus 800 or 850, I think Roland mentioned. For me, it would just be the Knicks. I mean, they're in a damn football game over here, bro. Like this is
I have
nasty college style physical basketball. Yeah, it's ugly basketball.
I'm about to put that on right
now. Can you
update
update us with the current score?
46-41, I believe is what I'm seeing here.
Knicks, right?
Yeah, Knicks up.
All right, 4 minutes Sixers are storming back.
We'll probably get out of here at halftime and watch the second half. So yeah, let's get on. Let's go.
All right, let's get to the pay-per-view this weekend. We got Canelo versus Jaime Munguia. And if you haven't seen the press conference, Canelo was in a little scrum with Oscar De La Hoya. Some pleasantries were exchanged, maybe not, kids safe. So if you're on YouTube, you might not want to have the kids around when you're watching that. But I'm going to ask you boys, who do you got Saturday night? Do you have Canelo or do you have the up and comer Jaime Munguia? Let's look over the tell of the tape here. Canelo is a minus 638 point favorite here. I mean, absolute favorite. 62-2. This dude, I mean, he doesn't lose, but to guys that are bigger than him and Golovkin 3 times. But I mean, it is what it is. So, who do y'all like here in this fight?
How much smaller is Munguia?
Let's go to Munguia. Munguia is actually taller. He's 6 feet. He's got 34 knockouts. He's 168. Got a 72-inch reach, and he's 27 years old.
43-0.
Absolute up and comer. 43-0. Going against Canelo, 62-2. 39 knockouts, 5'8", 168, but with a 70.5-inch reach. He's going to be at a reach disadvantage.
This fight for me, it's interesting from the perspective of just the overall light surrounding Canelo right now. I think for the past couple of years, Canelo's actually, he's skated by pretty well in terms of the public eye. I think the public kind of liked him against Triple G. I think even though he lost against the bigger dude, he got respect for going up. He's always been a guy that people respect. He has the knockouts. He's a Mexican fighter, always naturally going to have a big backing. But, he comes into this fight, and the reason why, and this is where I'm going to stop it, because I'm not going to act like I know a bunch about boxing. I just know he's a big favorite. He's probably going to win. And I know that he had 2 options going into this fight. I knew it was either that he was going to fight Munguia or he's going to fight the other option, which is Benavidez. And everybody, I think it's a consensus in the boxing world that is the toughest matchup for Canelo right now. And a matchup that Canelo supposedly has been ducking, has been asking the Saudis $200 million if you want me to fight Benavidez. I don't know how true those claims are. But yeah, that's really the bigger story for me. And then everything that was going on with Oscar that Justin was alluding to, and kind of the history that they have going back to Golden Boy when Oscar repped him on when Canelo was an up and comer, kind of through to, did he rep him for the Mayweather fight? Was he there for that? Or,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was maybe like 4 fights ago that he's off of Golden Boy.
Yeah. So, that drama there, and kind of the light around Canelo, people are kind of, I don't want to say they're calling him scared, because it's one thing to call one of the most dangerous guys in the world scared. I don't think they're really scared of anybody, but they're saying, hey, why are you ducking this guy Benavidez? Like, if you're Canelo, you're this guy that's gone up in weight, you're not afraid to fight anybody. Why are you ducking this guy? What's going on here? So that's the story for me. He should, maybe take care of Munguia. I don't want to disrespect Munguia. Don't know too much about him. But yeah, I can only go by the line and knowing that he's ducking another option.
What about you, Ben? What do you think about this fight Saturday night?
Yeah, I'm not too hyped about it because, like Roland said, I'm looking forward to the fight against Benavidez. But coming off that Ryan Garcia upset, I'm going to go with another upset. And Canelo, we've seen him be very professional, I think, for the most part of his career. I know with Oscar, it's probably got to be some deeper stuff, right? The history that they have, but
money stuff.
He was really out of character, I thought, there against Oscar. Of course, Oscar's going to do that, right? Because he's punching up, you know what I mean? But Canelo, he really got a reaction out of Canelo. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Munguia for the upset, just because I don't like the fact that, Canelo did have 2 options, and on May 5th, I think it would have been awesome if he was fighting Benavidez. So hopefully that'll be the next fight for him. But and if Munguia beats him, I don't think that's probably for sure the next fight for him if Munguia wins, right? I would say that then Canelo wouldn't really have too much of a choice coming off a loss, or is there an automatic rematch in the clause, Justin, that you know of?
So it's for a title, so he would have a mandatory on a rematch. He can enact that if Canelo loses. Which is probably what Canelo wants, because he doesn't seem like he wants the Mexican monster, La Bandera Roja, David Benavidez. It doesn't seem like Canelo has wanted that. They've pushed for that for quite some time, and he's been ducking it. He's ducking the fade, boys. I mean, it is what it is. The thing is, Benavidez, much like Golovkin, much like Bivol, who beat Canelo, just a bigger fighter overall. I mean, Benavidez lost weight to come down to 168. I mean, the dude is way bigger. And now that he's a natural 168er and Canelo's having to move up, He doesn't have the speed and power to match Benavidez at that weight, and it's a full-on duck, unfortunately. And it's sad to see that because Canelo, with the record it stands, he doesn't have much to lose. But I guess at this point in career, you're choosing fights and not exactly going through mandatories anymore because you have enough belts to do it.
Right.
But let's move over to some other news that came out in the boxing world, and that is Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. This fight is now scheduled as a real fight. Before they were fighting under the premise of it being amateur background. And what I'm hearing online is Jake Paul's team pushed for it to be a real fight because what they're hoping and setting up is that they want to kind of make an example of Iron Mike in the ring and finally get that money fight they've been wanting with Canelo. This is something Jake Paul's team has talked about for years and months, that they want the money fight with Canelo. Boys, does this make sense to you? Does a knockout of an old Iron Mike Tyson, does that warrant your shot, your money fight with Canelo? And I got to say, at this point in time, with Canelo ducking these fades, does he want this fight?
I'm just gonna. I think it's funny that they're talking about making an example out of a 58-year-old man, because that's exactly what Mike Tyson is.
That's what these boys do on the internet.
That's
the Paul kids.
They're saying that they want to make an example out of Mike Tyson, a 58-year-old man, no matter who Mike Tyson is. I mean, it's so crazy. I think Mike Tyson, if he lands one, maybe he can take out. Not maybe. He probably will take out Jake Paul if he can land one. And the 76ers, I'm sorry, just distracted me. They're up 5 now. Just going crazy.
Wow.
So yeah, I see your angle. See, maybe if you can set up a super fight, a big money fight with Canelo, similar to what his older brother did with Floyd Mayweather. I think maybe that would be an angle. But I think if anything, outside of that factor that you just mentioned, I think it makes this fight a little bit more sellable, right? I don't know if you can actually sell it. It's going to be on Netflix, but it's going to make it a little bit more watchable, right? Knowing that this is a real fight, there's not a no knockout clause or whatever like we've seen in some of these exhibitions, and that Jake Paul really is going to try and take Mike Tyson's head off. So I'm excited to watch this fight. I can't lie. Minus
hey, the last time Mike Tyson fought was against Roy Jones Jr. and Mike didn't look too bad. I think Jake Paul might be overlooking Mike a little bit here.
And there was supposedly a no knockout clause in that fight, the Tyson versus Jones, because it was an exhibition.
What do you think about this fight, Ben? Are you going to watch? Do you put any claim or put any stake in Justin's claim?
I'll definitely be watching. I think that the push to make it a real fight, I get the angle, for the Canelo thing, and I would usually say no, there's no way in hell. The only reason I'll say there is, any chance at all is because we saw Conor and Floyd,
Conor and Floyd too. That's the other one.
Be a real fight. And although, Conor was an MMA fighter, I think Paul's had enough boxing fights to where, I just don't see Canelo doing that. I don't see that move, and maybe at the end of his career, in a couple of years when he's ready to hang it up. But in this fight, I think that Mike Tyson's got to be live, bro, at plus 200.
So if it's a real fight, does that mean that they're doing PED testing? Does anybody know that? Are they testing for PEDs, or are they going to let these guys?
They would have to if it's a sanctioned fight.
A sanctioned fight, right? Okay, they're going to be doing some testing. All right, let's see. I was going to say it would be a testament to modern science and modern medicine, because I'm sure Mike Tyson is on some supplements and stuff at this point in his
is he on career. The
yeah, he's on that ashwagandha. Him and Ryan Garcia are chilling together. But yeah, that'll be an interesting fight. And I kind of agree with you, Justin. I think they might be overlooking him, saying that they want to make an example out of him. I mean, he is Mike Tyson after all. One hitter quitter created that phrase. So we'll see.
We got to remember that this guy lost to Fury. He lost to the Fury brothers.
He did.
Bro.
You're right. He did. And that was a real fight. And that was probably his best competition.
Probably shouldn't be I get that Mike Tyson's probably 60 at this point. Late 50s.
58.
At best. 58.
Dang.
But he fucking lost to the bum Fury brother, bro. Like, that Fury brother is going to hold on to that. That's going to be his career achievement. Like, I beat Jake Paul.
Yeah, Fury has fought one more time after Jake Paul, and no one remembers who that guy was that Fury fought. I don't even know if anybody watched it. So Fury's fight, you're right, Ben. Jake Paul's probably Fury's biggest fight at this point, and he
Yeah,
lost.
that's not, and that's not the biggest. That's not a real test, in my
Yeah,
opinion. So he was favored to beat Fury.
yeah. Tommy Fury, man, I don't know what he's doing now. I think he's like celebrity boxing or something. Let's talk about the other pay per view this weekend. The UFC is back. Is it in Rio, Ben? Are they back in Rio? I know it's Brazil.
They are,
Yeah.
yeah, because Alex Alex Pereira wanted to go fight over there. He was kind of, campaigning for it because it was back in Brazil, so he wanted to main event it.
All right, so UFC 301, we got Pantoja versus Ursage, and the return, the king of Rio is back, Jose Aldo. And Roland, I'm gonna go to you too. I'm gonna go to you first. Does Aldo have a chance coming back? I want to talk about Aldo's losses here. He's only lost to the who's who, Roland. That's
Yeah.
Marab, Jan, Volk, Holloway, and Connor. He's beat Rob Font, Pedro Munoz, Chito Vera, Jeremy Stevens. He's beaten the who's who.
Yeah,
Is
and I
his
was
time still now, Roland, or is he a little bit past his cooking?
he's definitely past his prime, but I wanted to, thank you for bringing up, the fact that despite, some of those losses that he has, sprinkled in there, he does have some W's, right? Up until that Marab victory, I think he had reeled off 2 victories against Font and Pedro Munoz, who you just mentioned, and he looked respectable against Marab. I saw a stat earlier today. I think it's because he's in the media cycle that he didn't get taken down by Marab in that fight. That he defended most of those takedowns. So he held up pretty well, although he did lose. But I think this is a little peculiar for me. He hasn't fought since 2022, if I'm mistaken. I know he might have had a boxing match. If I'm not mistaken,
2022, and that was Marab, his last fight. Yeah. He's had 3 boxing matches since, though.
And then he's had some boxing matches, so he's staying fresh. He's in shape. But I feel like the UFC called in a favor. They called in the King of Rio. They're like, hey, we need to beef up this card. Want to make a return. I don't know if it's a one-timer. I don't know if he's getting back into the regular fighting cycle. So for that reason, I have no choice but to go with the, Martinez. Although Martinez too, I was just looking. I don't think he's fought since. Well, actually, it's not that big of a deal. He fought at the latter end of 23 in October, so not that long of a layoff. Martinez has some crazy leg kicks. That's about all I know about the kid. So yeah, I'm gonna roll with Martinez and the short dog. Although I would like to root for Jose Aldo to win in his comeback.
Yeah, Roland mentioned the leg kicks. Both these guys have leg kick finish wins. Ben, is Aldo past his prime, or is it the right time for him to come back and return to the UFC?
He probably is past his prime, but he's still not as old as we may think. I believe he's 34, 35.
Yeah, mid-30s. You're right.
So it's not like he's one of those guys fighting at one of those legends fighting at 40. You know what I mean?
As I said, he's been around for a minute.
For sure. But and he's not fighting like a chump. But Jose Aldo's not a guy that Dana's out there saying in press conferences like, yeah, I think the next move after a Marab loss, like the next move for him is to retire. Like we see him saying about some of these legends. Recently said it about Holly Holm, in her last fight. But Aldo's not that type of guy. I do agree with, hey, this is in Rio. We need to beef up the card. Who better to call, than Aldo? It's kind of automatic that shit's going to sell out if he's fighting. I think the lights might be too bright for Martinez. He is a savage. He's an up-and-comer. Obviously, the age difference. He's going to be very physical. He's very physical, but I think that it's going to be a fight that stays standing up. And I mean, if Aldo has been putting in all this time boxing, we know him for his leg kicks. We know that he did have hands before, but maybe he comes out with, some a lot better boxing hands. So I got Aldo in Rio. Got to think if it goes to a decision, which I do think it will. You got to think that they're going to be, siding with some home cooking, like it says right there on the slide. So I'm going to go with Aldo as a short dog in this one.
Ben, speak to the crowd and how much that's going to play an effect this Saturday, because those Rio crowds go absolutely crazy for their fighters. They chant, Aldo's going to kill you, and they just, all the obscenities. I mean, they are hardcore. How much is that going to affect a young kid like Martinez?
That's why I said I think he might be like a deer in the headlights. I mean, it's not like he's main eventing, but it might as well be, right? It's a pay-per-view.
You're fighting
the co-main event. It's Aldo. It's a guy that Martinez probably watched, when he was getting into MMA, might be a guy that made him want to start MMA. So a lot of these guys too, when they get in there with some of these legends, guys that they consider heroes, and I'm not sure, if that's the way that he looks up to Aldo. I'm just saying the moment, the setting, it might be intimidating. This is the biggest fight of Martinez's career, so
Fair enough.
I don't think he's going to get put. I'm not saying he'll get put out and dominated, but I do think that Aldo is going to hang in this fight. It's going to be a stand-up fight, and if it's going to the judges, I'm going to side with the home guy.
I agree.
Yeah, the
Roland, anything
walkouts.
else you want to
No,
say for this
I was
one?
just gonna say the walkout's gonna be scenes for Jose Aldo. His return, first fight in Rio in a while.
I
Like
hope they
Ben
do a
said, they
little
go
extra for
hard.
him for that.
Oh, for sure. They're gonna give him almost like a main event type walkout, I'm sure, for Jose Aldo. So, and he's probably gonna walk second in that matchup, right? You got to imagine
Yeah.
Martinez gonna walk first, and Aldo's gonna come out. So we'll see.
Hall of Famer, by the way. Hall of Fame, Jose Aldo. All right, let's move over to the main event. It's Pantoja defending his belt versus Steve Erceg. Pantoja minus 190 favorite over the underdog Astro Boy, the Australian Steve Erceg. Ben, how do you see this fight playing out? Who has more paths to victory in this one?
I think Pantoja has more pass, but the thing that worries me, I think Pantoja. I don't want to be too long-winded because it's not that crazy of a fight, right?
Yeah, yes.
But I do kind of agree with this odds. I think a lot of people are surprised. Maybe some people are saying, "Who is Erceg?" Maybe they haven't seen him before. Plus 160 as a challenger going in. Into he's Australian going into uncharted territory into Brazil. It's a main event against Pantoja, guy that's defended his belt already. The thing with Pantoja, it's a 5-round fight. We've seen him have guys in trouble early, not be able to put him out.
Yep.
And then it just starts looking really fucking ugly, dude. Like
Real
third
slow.
round on, he might still win a round. He definitely wins the first two, comes out like a bat out of hell. But it doesn't look really good in the later rounds, the championship rounds. He's there to be hit. He's just tired. He's exhausted. He's not being as technical. And Erceg is a cardio monster. Seems like a guy who would thrive in those later rounds. And just all the damn upsets we've been seeing. I think I picked Pantoja to be my champ at the end of the year. I'm going to pick Erceg to win this fight. I'm going to say that he ends up getting him with something late, maybe 4th, 5th round. But Pantoja, if he doesn't get him out of there early, I don't like his chances late.
Roland, Ben's loving the dogs Saturday night. What about you? Are you loving the dogs?
Well said, Ben. Erceg can't act like I know too much about his game other than I know he's a clean striker, strikes from the outside, and he's somebody that has knockout power. He won his last fight by knockout against Matt Schnell, and which ultimately landed him this title shot victory. And then just also the state of the flyweight division, right, kind of just led for this kind of matchup to happen, the champion versus number 10. And Erceg here. So I'm going to go with Pantoja. I agree with a lot of what Ben said. I mean, you look back at his last outing against Royval, looked very strong. And then kind of, the fight turned on him. And then he had to turn to, his championship medal, score some takedowns there at the end to get out of trouble and, ultimately preserve that victory. So I'm not going to go all the way and side with the underdog here. I'll go with Pantoja, keep his belt, fighting at his home, in home country. I don't know if he's a Rio fighter, if he's from that region, but I'm going to be in his backyard nonetheless. Give me Pantoja to get it done, but it is scary because, like Ben said, he, at least from what I've seen the past couple fights, his level of intensity doesn't stay the same. Like he's spending a lot of time throughout the 3rd and the 4th round catching his wind, and you're like, what's going on here, Pantoja? Like you might, and it looks nasty. He, like against Royval, it might have been once or twice. I might be over exaggerating, but there are some stand-up positions where you're like, damn, is the ref going to stop it? He's not, returning any punches, right? And Royval's just teeing off on him. But, you give a guy like Pantoja that credit because he knows how to, stand through those and get through those fires. But how long can he continue to do that? If he gets hit clean on his button, like a sniper like Erceg can do, how's he going to react to that? I'm going to say he's going to win. Maybe he takes him out early by submission or something like that. But your guess is as good as mine on this fight.
Yeah, I like the submission angle, Roland, because Erceg, 6 of his wins are by submission, 4 by decision, and 2 by knockout. So I think if they get on the floor, I think Pantoja might be in for a little bit of an upset here. I think we can see Usyk tapping him out. I'm going to go with Ben. I'm going to go with the dog here. I think the title changes in Rio. And it seems that way. It seems like the guys from Brazil don't always have the most luck at home for some reason.
Well, and so I mean, I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but if you see the number 10 seed or the 10th ranked fighter win the belt, what does that do for you with the next title fight? Is that automatic rematch for Pantoja? He's done a pretty respectable job of defending his belt since he got it. I think he's had 1 defense or 2 defenses.
I think it's 2 because he beat Moreno and then he defended against Wright and then Royval.
Yeah,
I think Royval just had a pretty big win, no?
Yeah.
Yes, he did. So, man,
I think maybe Royval, but this is a division that we got to remember. This is a division that was on the verge of getting,
and that's what I was talking about with, this is how you'll see a champion going up against a 10 seed when you have a division like that, right? There's so much flux. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But if you guys both think that and I mean, plus 160. That's a short dog, right? So There's something there, right? So I see your guys' angle on the short dog for sure. It's a little bit of a fishy line.
Real quick, because I'd like that point, Roland. Who has the weaker division right now, light heavyweight or flyweight?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I'll say flyweight just because I still think there's some killers that are, coming up in that light heavyweight division. They're not quite yet etched in stone, but they're getting there. So, yeah.
What about you, Ben?
I agree. I mean, I think we just had the middleweights do the pay-per-view for 300, really scrutinized, with the main event. Here we have the following pay-per-view.
I think he cut off. All right. Well, last thing I want to ask you, Roland, is who gets your money Saturday night? Will the boxing get your money or will the UFC get your money?
Neither. I gotta say neither. Dana, hope you're not watching. The boxing match is gonna be on Netflix, or is there a paywall on that? Can you update me with that, Justin?
Paywall for both.
Wow. Okay, so Netflix is they're completely buying into the pay-per-view model. They're adding that to their.
The Canelo fight's not a Netflix one, and
oh shit, my bad, dude. My bad.
I was also be under a paywall through Netflix.
I got confused. Well, thank you for bringing that up for me. But if I were to choose, I'd probably, man.
I want to say this one's on Amazon Prime, but paywall.
I'd say neither, honestly. I would say, nah, you know what? I'm good. I'll skip out watching. But if I were to, pick one, UFC. I mean, I'm on the UFC trip right now. Even if it's, some guys that I don't know. The fights are always pretty exciting. Exactly, better product to me. So give me the UFC.
Ben, Cinco de Drinko this weekend. Who's winning your money? Will the boxing get your money, or will it be UFC?
Neither, for sure. Just because of the way it's set up over here, I'll definitely be watching. But I think you got to go with the boxing. I mean, it's Cinco de Mayo. It's Canelo. It's 2 Mexicans against each other. That's definitely, you can invite, the tias, the tios, any cousin, hey, Canelo's fighting, and, you can turn on the grill. As far as the UFC, if you're chilling and, us, we like watching fights, I'm going to be watching it as well, but you really aren't telling people, hey, come over for the Usyk Pantoja fight and, Aldo and whoever. So it's definitely got to be boxing, as I do think that the UFC is a better product all in all, but this is boxing's biggest name. There's no way, we're going Pantoja out over that.
Yeah, this UFC card is one of those where you're chilling on the couch with a hoodie on. You have a little drink, lights are off.
You're not really inviting friends over either.
Yeah, it'd be dope if this one started like at 8
a.m. You're just vibing.
Yeah, like UFC 300, you're inviting everybody because you want to show them what you watch. Exactly. And you're proud of it. But this one's like, guys, you could kind of miss this one.
Real quick, what do you guys think about the UFC 304 Manchester start time? Tom Aspinall, the guy who's going to be headlining that fight, is talking like, guys, I get you cater to the American audience. The majority of the people who watch this aren't, from the United States. But come on, how are you going to make the fans of Manchester stay up pretty much all night? Because Tom Aspinall will probably be walking out around 4 a.m. Manchester time. Fair or foul? What say you guys?
Super fair, because at the end of the day, it's a business, and the market that buys the pay-per-view is the American market, and you have to cater to them. They've done pay-per-view cards in it was like not the Philippines, but the Glover fight, the championship fight. They had to end up getting it free because no one bought it, and that was a UFC numbered pay-per-view. So they can't afford to switch the time up because the American market is the pay-per-view market. In England, UFC costs $20 to get the pay-per-view. In America, they hit you up for $84.99 or whatever it is. They gotta hit the pay-per-view.
How do we get those England prices, cuz?
Well, Gorilla Box can help you out with that, but that's separate. It's separado. It's a little different.
I thought there was more money over there. What the hell? Why are they
Justin, you wouldn't even budge a little bit for an afternoon start. Give your Manchester.
No, only because they've already done it, and it resulted in them having to give it away because they couldn't sell it at that point.
And not only that, but like, I mean, if you're gonna get your money out of them anyway, they're gonna be in the building, right? I mean,
facts. They're gonna be there anyways. They're gonna sell out anyways.
Like you're trying to get it over here. You're trying to get these people to watch, and already, I mean, you're having Aspinall against who is it for the belt? Like it's already going to be kind of a struggle to try and sell that pay-per-view as far as notoriety, household names, the average person buying a UFC pay-per-view, and then you mess with the time, and it's going to be a for sure dud. So I think it'd be suicide messing with the time. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I'm trying to. Who is he fighting? Oh, he doesn't have a fight booked. He's just expected to be the headliner. I think the names thrown around for him were Cyril Gahn, and I don't know who the other contender is right now.
I like Gahn. That would be a good fight for Aspinall. You got two guys who can really, throw power. And
Gahn didn't lose his last fight.
He lost to Jones. Was that his last fight?
Is he not fighting Curtis Blades, or did he not fight Curtis Blades?
I don't think he fought Blades.
Curtis Blades fought Jelton Almeida.
Oh,
see, the Blades.
You see, like Blades could fight for the title.
He has a claim. I think Cyril Gahn's last fight was against Spivak, TKO, UFC Fight Night, September 23. So hasn't fought in 24 yet.
All right, boys. Well, let's wrap this up, man. This game is 62-60. Josh Hart's going to the line.
Just real quick, man. I'm watching this game. Shout out to Hardenstein. He's a guy who's fought from the RGV Vipers all the way to this situation, but they cannot leave him on an island with Embiid the rest of this game on the box. They got to send him some help. I know Mitchell Robinson got hurt earlier in the series. I haven't seen him yet. I've just seen a lot of Hardenstein. I can't imagine Hardenstein's going to hold up against Embiid one-on-one the rest of the game. So I don't know.
Really good backup though, yeah. Very respectable.
You're seeing seven
for sure. Yeah. What's that?
You're seeing game 7.
Nah, I think the Knicks are going to pull it out tonight. 62-61, Philly's up. I'm just pointing out that Hardenstein, he is a good, serviceable second string center, but asking him to guard Embiid, it's just too much.
All right, boys. Appreciate you tuning in. Every Thursday night we've been live. Ben gets in sometimes on Tuesdays, gives you the update on the NBA. When can we be back, boys? I think Thursday's another good time for me. I don't know if that's good for you all.
Yeah, I mean, with the playoffs, we're going to have the second round starting, so maybe we get on before Thursday just to kind of give our early predictions. I know we previewed it, teased it, but I think second round starts this weekend, so we'll probably have a game or two in.
So
I wouldn't mind going back on Tuesday.
All right, we'll see you all Tuesday. Peace.